myself Anakha MS, and now I am here to say a few words about C.V. Raman and Indian physics. Some of you may be familiar with him. C.V. Raman was an Indian physicist who brought groundbreaking work in the field of scattering of light with his student K.S. Krishnan. He was born in November 7, 1888 in Thiruvankoil, Tiruchirappalli. He achieved many awards like Bharat Ratna in the month of 1951, Huggins Medal in 1930, the Nobel Prize in 1930, Franklin Medal in 1941 and the Lenin Prize in 1957. The Nobel Prize for Physics was awarded to Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman for his work of scattering of light and for the discovery of the effort named after him. He passed away in November 21, 1970 in Bengaluru. I hope the information that I have passed would be helpful for your studies and now you understand more about C.V. Raman. Thank you and have a nice day.
What comes into your mind when you hear the name C.V. Raman? The inventor, the explorer, the scientist. Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman, the Indian physicist who made his motherland proud by becoming the first Indian to win the Nobel Prize for Physics. So, who is this C.V. Raman? How did he achieve all the things? And what is the story behind him? In this video, we will find out. Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman was born on November 7, 1888 in the city of Tiruchirappalli, Madras. Raman's father was Chandrasekhan Ramanathan Iyer and his mother was Parvati Ammal. His father, initially a school teacher and became a lecturer in mathematics and physics in Visakhapatnam. He displayed a brilliant mind even as a child and passed his matriculation examination when he was just 11. In 1903, aged just 14, Raman set off for great city of Madras, now known as Chennai, to live in a hostel and begin a bachelor's degree at Presidency College. He topped the exam and won a gold medal. 3 years later, he earned his MA degree in 1907. He was deeply interested in science. He appeared for the financial services examination at the insistence of his father. He topped the examination and went to Kolkata in 1907 to join the Indian Finance Department as an Assistant Accountant General. Still, his heart was in scientific research and he began conducting research at the Indian Association of Cultivation of Science during his free time. His job was very hectic, yet he was so dedicated towards science that he often spent nights at research. In 1917, he got the opportunity to join the University of Calcutta as the first Pallitt Professor of Physics. Raman happily resigned from his government post to take up this position, though the new job paid much less than the previous one. Such was his dedication to science. During the late 1920s, he experimented on the scattering of light by observing the behavior of monochromatic light, which penetrated transparent materials and fell on spectrograph. This led to the discovery of what come to be known as Raman effect, which is presented at a meeting of scientists in 1928. He won the 1930s Nobel Prize in Physics for his work on the scattering of light and for the discovery of the Raman effect, becoming the first Indian to win Nobel Prize in Science. He was honored with the Bharat Ratna, India's first civilian award in 1954 in recognition of his invaluable contribution to the field of science. He was married on 6 May 1907 to Lokasundari Ammal. They had two sons, Chandrasekhara and Radhakrishnan. Raman was very deeply interested in musical instruments such as veena, violin and tabla. A few days before his 83rd birthday, Raman suffered a mild heart attack, but there was a quick recovery. He never dreamt of life without work. He had told his doctor, "I wish to live 100% active and fruitful life." Raman, a seeker of truth throughout his life, passed away on 21st of November 1970.
Friends, hope you all are doing good and safe at home. We all have come across some beautiful phenomena in our daily life, such as the blue color of the sky, the reddening of the sun at sunset and sunrise. Have you ever wondered what is the reason behind this natural phenomena? Let me show you something really interesting to explain this. I have taken 2 glasses of water. I'm shining my laser light through these 2 glasses. To the first glass, I've already added sugar and stirred it very nicely. To the other glass, I have not added anything. Notice that we don't see the beam or the path of light in either of these glasses. Now, let me go ahead and add some milk to the second glass and let's see what happens. I'm stirring the milk and now, do you see the path of light? When we add milk to the second glass, the milk particles get dispersed throughout the medium, which means they distribute themselves throughout the water. And now the light enters into the mixture and hits to one of these tiny particles, which reflects these lights in all directions. This is actually the property of tiny particles, that they will always reflect the light. This phenomena of reflecting the light in all directions is what we call as scattering of light. So, now the question is, why do we see the path of light when we add milk, but we don't see it when we add sugar to it? The reason why we see the path of light in the milk-water mixture is due to the phenomena called scattering of light. Let us learn more about this in detail. Now, some of the lights get reflected to us. That is the reason why we see the particle as red. Not all the light gets reflected. Some of the light goes through as well. These lights hit another particle and again scatters from there. So this process continues, and as a result, all the particles which are in the path of light end up glowing. And since these particles are really tiny and so many of them that when we look at them we don't get to see individual particles, but all we see is a beam of light or a straight line. The next question that comes to our mind is, why don't we see the path of light in sugar solution? Does it mean they don't scatter light? Well, they do scatter light. All particles tend to scatter light, but here's the thing. It turns out that the amount of light they scatter depends upon the size of the particle. As the particle size becomes bigger and bigger, they tend to scatter more and more light. If the particle size becomes too small, then they do scatter light, but the scattered light will be so insignificant that we won't be able to see it. The particles in the sugar solution are so tiny that the scattered light is negligible, and that's why we can't see them. On the other hand, if the particles are too large, then we have a problem. Their problem is not with the scattering, but these particles can scatter even more strongly because they are big particles. But these particles tend to settle down due to gravity. The phenomena of scattering of light is called Tyndall effect. In 1928, C.V. Raman experimentally proved that light scatters when it is allowed to pass through a substance. This scattered light contains some additional frequency other than that of the incident frequency. This is known as Raman effect. This series of light formed by the scattering of light by atoms and molecules is known as Raman spectrum. Hope you understood the concept of scattering of light or Tyndall effect. Thank you.